Hey guys, I just wanted to touch base. I never do videos. I figure I need to start doing videos again. I did them for a while, but they were always, a lot of them, not all of them, were always like usually in the midst of some bullshit. And to say those things didn't happen, but still, I'd rather just do some videos about what I'm going through and the messages I get. Which, when I first awakened, which is almost a little over a year ago, when I had my awakening experience, which again, I talked about this earlier, but it was a profound moment, so profound that I didn't know if I was alive or dead. I really didn't. I actually posted for the first time on Facebook that I've ascended. And I thought I was like on my way to heaven. I didn't know if I was like in between. Because I was also, at the same time when this happened, like everything was happening live. And everything was live. When I say live, I mean like every YouTube video I watched, whether it was from yesterday, 3 years ago, I'd watch Rocky movies, and this is no bullshit. Everything was live, completely live for me. Like I would literally be talking in the TV. It was communicated. It was like the movie was shot in the '80s, but when I watched it, it was now. It was like they knew I was watching. And it sounds crazy, and I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of people know this to be true anyway. I feel like everyone was part of it. Um, so yeah, everything was live. Everything was live for almost a whole year of live, and it just recently, and which is good because even though I feel like everything is still, my thoughts are still read and stuff like that, but it's they're not giving feedback, which is good because I have to be able to live my life. It's like I always say, it's like being in the Truman Show then, but knowing you're Truman. So in other words, Truman Show was were great if he didn't know he was Truman in the Truman Show. But for you to know you're Truman in the Truman Show and still being able to live a normal life is almost impossible. You can't really do that. You can't really, because you always know that you're, even though now I still feel like I am, but the fact is that people are treating me normal, and that's a great thing. Like, because at the end of the day, I have to be able to still live. I'm living on Earth, so I have to be able to live a normal life. I have to be able to do things, get a job, go places, see things, live my life the way I want to live it. That's always been my top priority. I've hated ever a part of something where I can't feel like I can exercise my freedom to live my life. So I'm in a drug program now, and it's helped me out tremendously. I'm very appreciative of this. This program is a great program. There's a lot of people that recover, and there are great people that live here, and I'm blessed to have them. And I truly mean that, And they really do an outstanding program here. It's one of the best, probably in the nation, honestly. I mean, as far as what they do, the things that they provide for us. And I really am blessed to have that. I don't want to cry right now, but it's true. And yeah, I've come a long way, man. Yeah, a year ago, my life, but at the end of the day, I still was blessed. I felt like I was blessed when I was going through the shitstorm. I remember thinking this is so outrageous for this life that I'm living now. My life was pretty boring. I mean, even actually, no, my life has always been an adventurous life. I'll be honest with you. And I don't regret anything. And the reason I don't is because I believe everything that happens in your life happens to bring you to the point you're at now. So, in other words, if even the trauma and everything else that you went through in life, it was all molded you to that's what I believe. It molded me for where I'm at now. It built my character. It actually, I believe a lot of it was a test to see if I'd stay true to myself. And, I have to look at I try to look at everything in a positive outlet. And trust me, there's things that I report all the time that are bad things that I believe everyone should be aware of. But I know now, well, I've always known that I have to make aware. I'm drawn to this like a magnet. I can't stop. I can't stop doing it. I can't stop like telling these things because they're real things. They're on websites they're not my website. It's actually the World Economic Forums of CDC. I report all these things to make people aware, and the reason I know this plays an impact is because just the awareness, just like the double slit experiment, consciousness plays effect on reality. In the double slit experiment, where there's a ball or a light beam, depending on which or I believe it's a light beam, and it has two slits that it could go through. Now, no one knows which slit it's going to go through until the consciousness, the awareness of it, when you're actually looking at it and observing it. That's when it decides which hole. So consciousness, just the awareness of consciousness, plays effect on reality. And that's a fact. So knowing that from, quantum physics and, spooky science, as they call it, that just shows me that making people aware of things, just the awareness of it, affects reality. And that's just a proven fact now. It's a proven fact, and then there's, so that just clarifies what I've always been drawn to, which regardless of that or not, I have to keep doing this because it's like in my DNA. It's not something that I can stop doing. I feel like that's my purpose. It's my purpose to actually make things aware so people have the correct information that they need to make decisions based on the future of the world. And so, yeah, so but the fact is that I'm the only one on, there's opposing views to everything, and I can oppose the vaccine 1,000 different ways. I mean, literally, if you want studies, there's none out there because there hasn't really been enough time for them. So there's that, you're getting a vaccine that the long-term effects haven't even been studied yet because there hasn't been enough time to. You got pregnant women being ushered in to get vaccines. Who knows what that's going to do to an unborn baby yet? We don't know. It's a fact. We just don't know yet. It hasn't been enough time to study this at all. Should you have a right to know what's going on in your body? Absolutely. I think everyone needs to know what's going in their body. Now, the only thing I do know for a fact, which I state 1,000 times, but I have to keep saying it because, again, if I'm the only one saying this, I better do it 3 times as hard because of the fact that I believe it's the most important, crucial part of the entire pandemic is the vaccine. And I believe wholeheartedly that the vaccine was manufactured the virus was manufactured to give you the vaccine. And the reason I say that is because the only requirement for the vaccine also is to have the surveillance and monitoring system with public and private agencies, at least 10 plus, with more systems to come, sentient surveillance, everything that you could possibly think of. And this is for everyone. This doesn't just affect a small portion or people that have the virus that get vaccinated. This is everyone. It even states on there. Everyone, the entire population, gets the surveillance and monitoring system. And, I always, whenever I do these videos, whenever I do anything, obviously, I run off on tangents. That's just the way my brain works. Because I get like 1,000 different things going on at once, and one topic leads to another, and then who knows where these videos actually end up going. I could start off trying to talk about one thing. This is what more normal conversations are with me are like. When somebody, here I go again. When somebody tells me a story, I don't know if anyone's ever been able to finish their story because the way my brain operates, especially if I'm interested in their story, I need to have context behind their story. So if somebody's telling me something like, all right, so especially I'm fascinated with stories from people that have been through some shit. Like, I've always been attracted, I don't want to pull out anyone's names, but, if especially girls that have been through shit, that have been knocked down, the world came down on them. And then freaking they get up and then dust it off and go through the fire, and then now they're living a wonderful life. Anyone, for that matter, that goes through anything like that, I'm like all ears, because it fascinates me. These stories are like hero stories, so I'm always attracted to people that have been through some shit. That the world came down, they freaking fell down, they picked themselves up, they went through the fire, and now they're living a great life of beyond their wildest dreams. That to me is a hero to me, and that's just so when somebody's telling me a story, I need context. So I'm like, all right, so all right, so this is before you had the ex-boyfriend, or so tell me about, because I need to have the whole scenario that's going on in their life when they're telling the story. So are you with a boyfriend now? How old are you? Do you still working at whatever JCPenney or whatever your job was that you were telling me, or is this after that? So, and then she might say, or whoever might say, well, Jason, then I might ask a question that gets them completely steered off, because then I'm fascinated by what that leads to. So that's how my brain works. And it's not, if I'm asking questions like that when somebody's telling me something, that's not because I'm trying to interrupt them. It's because I'm actually interested in what you're saying, and I want to have context to the story. And that's always the way I am. And so I don't know if anyone's ever really finished the story that they were telling me, just because my questions lead them to another story that I don't even know if they finished that. So, but it's only because I'm interested. It really is. So hopefully, I used to, one of my ex-girlfriends used to say, now are you gonna let me tell the story, or are you gonna tell the story? Because I also have a tendency to like, my brain runs so fast. Sometimes I'll ask a question, I have the answer, or like the 5 different possible answers that you could have to the question I'm asking, and then the follow-up questions in my head to any one of the possible answers that you might have answered to the original question. So I'm trying to speed the conversation along, which can come off like an asshole, I guess. So what I'll do is I'll ask the question. I already know the 5 possible answers. So when you answer the question, I already know the 5 follow-ups to the answer that you give me. So I'm all just trying to get to the bottom, and but I have to start somewhere to get to the answer I'm really looking for. But so yeah, that's just how my brain works. But see how I go off on, I don't know where that came from, but that's the way. That's a prime example. Is right. This video is how I operate. Where was I saying to begin with? Yeah. So I feel like I was like, when I had my awakening, so like in 3 days I felt like I was on fire. I was literally felt like my body was on fire. I was like, everything was live. Even my dating posts were live. Like, they were looking at me. Even though it's a profile picture, they were seeing me, though. And I was seeing them. And they noticed, I noticed. And I think that's where it started. I noticed. It's like you wake up in a movie. It's like I read this one book on transurfing. And they say when you wake up to the movie role, to the script, that's the way they call it, like a film role, that you become like everyone else that's asleep to the systems that they have on. Like, she calls them, it's pendulums. Like, everything is a pendulum, a system that has polar opposite division. That's why it causes division by nature, by the duality world that we live in. So they have crate systems based on the duality. So everything has a positive and negative aspect to it, and by design, and that's what keeps the system going. In fact, they manufacture events. Most of the problems and crises we have in the world are I call them manufactured events, to cause division, to polarity. But the fact is, they create the problem that we didn't even know we had before until it was created for us, to have it a positive and negative polarity, posers to the problem and supporters to whatever issue is going on. It's done by design. It's actually, when you look at it, like when you see it for what it is, it's actually, pretty genius, because of the fact, even though it's not, the systems are terrible, and the fact that they cause problems, obviously, that we didn't even know we didn't have prior, that are created to have the problem. And the problem is actually a confirmed real problem when there's a positive and negative aspect to it. So in other words, they create the issue, whatever the issue, Black Lives Matter was the police, whatever crazy issue that they decide to throw out there, Republican, Democrat, there's only 1,000 issues, mask, no mask, everything is a polar opposite, polarity, positive, negative forces to each thing that we live in, by design, because that's the world we live in, the duality earth plane. So they create the problem to cause the division, which is the polar opposites, and that's what actually turns the manufactured problem into a real problem. It's the connection is made. The circuit has been connected. Now it's a real problem. Does that make sense? So whatever the issue is, they create the issue. Whatever the issue is, we didn't have it before they created it, right? Whatever it is. And then we have polar opposites, polarity, in the duality of this world, that needs 2 and 3 energies, neutral, positive, and negative, to create something. So the system itself is manufactured, but it is made real when we have an opposing and a supporting side to it. Then the fake problem became a real problem. And that's how the world works. That's how the systems work. There's systems everywhere that does this to it. They have systems, energy systems, that they create all the time to draw your energy to them, so that you don't have your own life force energy. So you're asleep, operating in these systems all the time, that you're not even made aware. Subconsciously you're doing it, but you're not aware that you're giving your life force energy away to the system while you're participating in it. Now, you could participate in systems without giving your life force energy away. How do I say that? Is that you, just by the awareness of the system being a system, breaks your life force energy from giving it to the system. Just the awareness alone of it being a system. So that's what I always tell people, like in Transurfing, she says you can wake up in the film row. She's a priestess, and she talks like really nasty to you, like, what does she call you, slugs or something? And it's weird, but anyway, she talks about a lot of real things, but she's like, she wants to teach you how to have power, but she don't want you to have too much. It seems like the whole book is based on that. But she's saying that you wake up in the film. Everyone else that's asleep in the systems are like mannequins, including yourself. So when you finally awake in the film role, as she calls it, you become a live character in the movie. And when you do that, you want to go unnoticed. Unfortunately, I didn't make that. I read the book after. But when you become unnoticed, so now you're able to operate in the film, and you could change your character to be the character you want to be. You can literally become the character you want to live your life to be. And she teaches you how to do that. There's a technique she does, is called lighting up your I forget what the name of it is, but your plate. It's in behind you. It's in your back. It's like a plate. Like everything is like you project what you want to reflect. So let's say that this is all like a movie being shot in your front of your face. This is what she says. There's a lot of different things that I read that make sense. Some of them I apply to certain things. Some of them resonate with me. Some of them don't. Some techniques I use and I know that work, and some of them I just don't use because I don't think they're beneficial for me at the particular moment, or they're not actually what I'm trying to use to get the desired effect I'm trying to get. But there's still techniques nonetheless that work for people that are depending on what you're trying to do. So just to tell you this, because I think it's something that people can benefit from. And again, this is not the original part of anything that I wanted to that I was originally gonna talk about, but this is where the conversation leads, so this is where I go with it. So she says to light up the plate in the back of you. Now she says that if you picture like a rod coming out of your back, and then like a screen, and then you light the screen up, just visually light it up, and then you project on the screen what you want your film roll to be projected. In other words, whatever you're trying to accomplish in your next frame, because she's saying you could do this literally in each frame of your day, just by lighting up the plate behind your back, which is your outer intention. That's what she calls it. So it's your outer intention you need to work from. And by doing this, when you do that, you do it with no muscle. It's all just relaxed. Light up the plane. Don't be tensed up. It's non-physical. So you light up the plane visually. You project on the screen what you want your next frame to be. But she said to practice, because everything has to do with confidence and you seeing it happen. So when you have confidence and you see it happen, the momentum of you, even though I'm going to be walking through a door, even though you're going to walk through the door, but this is just to train your mind that it's working, which makes sense. So when you light up the plane and say, I'm going to walk through this door, and then you walk through that door, it's training your mind that it works. And when you believe it, it actually is what really, the belief in it is what, your reality is perception, what you believe. So it's conditioning your beliefs. And then when you do that and you see it happening, it subconsciously makes you know that you can do it. And when you know you can do it, you do it. It happens. Just the belief alone is what makes you create it, and then you become good at it. And so good that some people get scary good at it. I mean, like to the point where they're like literally dropping money bags. I mean, like stuff with surreal stuff out of the sky. I mean, it's crazy. But you don't want. But again, she recommends don't be noticed. To go unnoticed when you have when you're awake in the movie role. People are going to be drawn to you because you're freaking awake in the movie, and it just causes people to notice you. Automatically, you light up in a way that people are attracted to you. So, where did I go? I don't know how this got. And again, when I do these videos, I might start off with one topic. I need to start finishing my own stories. But so what else was I gonna say? How did I get there? I don't know, but this is where the conversation led. So this is where I'm at. Um, what did I? Oh, my awakening. So yeah, I had my awakening 3 days straight. I was like, felt like I was on fire. Didn't really, started getting information. I don't know how I got it, or because I just knew things that I didn't had no way of knowing. I just knew things that I didn't. There was no way for me to know them. I just knew them. You know, and I used to call it being in high frequency. I still do. And I'm in high frequency a lot these days, but back then, I didn't have anyone to bounce things off of. So I would go into like Reddit and Quora spaces and argue with people. And just the arguing alone, it creates, when somebody has an opposing view of you, it's not actually a bad thing. It actually gets you staying in high frequency. Like just the discussion, even the back and forth, even the rants and the battles, and I call them battles. They're not really battles, but the arguments, I guess. Maybe like you feel this way. No, I feel this way because of this. That creates things. That actually keeps you in high frequency too. So I would go on Reddit even just to oppose people, but still they're thinking in high frequency. Even though they're not thinking the same thoughts as I might have a different view as them. But just the back and forth is what keeps us, I think both of us, it actually helps both of us to like come up with new ideas. Just like yesterday the reason I got onto this consciousness thing is this lady I was watching in one of the groups that I go into. It's like Forbidden Teachings of Atlantis. It's a real group, and these people have real good teachings in there that I pick up on. Now, do I believe everything? No, I don't resonate with everything that's posted there. How could I? We're all different. We all have different opinions and views, but just seeing something that I pose can cause me to think of something that I'm for that creates a new idea that I can say. So that's what I was right. There's a message everywhere. Even if it's not the message that the opposing message and viewpoint could be the inspiration for the real message that you want to say that actually does resonate with you. So I've learned that going to places that maybe have different viewpoints inspires me to actually get the message I need to for something that does resonate with me. A lot of, actually, I'd say more times than not that happens. So not to say that I'm against them. In fact, I think that's what's great about the world. The opposition to what just by looking at something you don't believe in could spark you to something you do believe in. And everyone's allowed to believe their own thing. That's the great thing about this world is we're all different. We all have different perceptions because we all can't know each other's viewpoint. Reality is really both objective and subjective. I mean, there's a table here. We can all agree on that. But the purpose of the table could be different depending on who you are. So it's objective and subjective. Opposition is not a bad thing. In fact, it's like I call it like the friction that sparks the fire, like two sticks. And that's like co-creating in a weird way. Maybe we didn't even mean to. Maybe maybe me stating something that you oppose sparks you to something that you like, that you believe in. And I think if it works for me that way, it has to work in the opposite way, which is not a bad thing. I'll fight for anyone's point of view to have a point of view. That's what my whole purpose of everything is that I'm fighting against, is for people to have their own interests, to be their own person, to speak their own truth, regardless of whether it's something you believe the same truths as me. I just want people to have point of views and personal interests and freedom to express themselves and be the person you want. The one I posted yesterday, the one beauty part about the world is that you can literally stop your moment as like if the pathway from the past brought you to your present moment now. Everything that you did brought you to the here and now. So then whatever you do from this point on brings you to the future. That's your timeline. That's what a timeline is. It's just the story that takes you from the here and now to the future. That's a timeline. How do we get there? And usually the collective, how the world gets there is through the collective consciousness, what they agree on as being the timeline that they want to take. So there might be various timelines out there, but it's what the majority agrees on as far as the future that dictates the path to the future. if that makes sense. So yes, it is true. So, and that's why there's always people fighting for your support. And again, so that way you can, the pathway, the timeline. Now, I think you can create your own timeline. I know you can. In fact, you can add timelines if you really wanted to. Yeah, you could. But so yeah, so timelines exist. Yes, the future exists. So here's my point. So what I was saying is this: is that in any given moment we have the freedom to literally change our future by the present moment, the decisions that we make at each and every present moment of every single day. You could literally stop what you're doing, change your entire course of history by changing your life. You could literally quit your job, start a new job, learn a new instrument, start a band, play in a band, learn how to sing, be a singer, do what? You write a book, travel the world, dump your boyfriend, girlfriend, get a new one. You have the opportunity to change your life every second of every day. You can literally stop what you're doing, realize where you're at, what you want in life, and completely change the entire course of your timeline. And that's a beautiful thing. That's like wow, I can literally create my own life timeline by changing what I'm doing today and changing the trajectory of my life to the end result that I'm trying to achieve. So that's a freedom that you can't even go. That goes beyond. That's what I'm trying to protect. So when I say things like, the enslavement of America is up for or the world actually, because the people that run the world today, they don't want you to be able to have that power to do that. Why do I know this? Because they don't allow you to have personal interest, which is who you are. And it says it on their own code of conduct. Conflict. It's a threat to them. They want to have your life dictated from you from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed and everything in between, telling you where to go, what to do, how to do it, what job you're going to have. The fourth industrial revolution reads like that. It's literally dictating your entire life. You won't have room to be inspired, to do things. No, the inspiration is a threat to them for sure. Hope? No, that's a 4-letter word for them, for you to have. Love? Ooh. That's definitely not, unless you're loving them. That's it. That's the only love you're supposed to have, because if it's not towards them, loyalty to them comes above your own family. So this is what I'm trying to fight against. How do I know this now? Who are the elite established? The people that create the vaccines. The families that run the vaccines, that have the pharmaceutical companies that have been in power for thousands of years, those bloodlines. So yeah, they want you to get vaccinated to inhibit your ability to choose your life the way you want to live it. Why do I know this? Because there's a surveillance and monitoring system in it. The only requirement. It's on the CDC website. By the way, it never gets flagged. Never. My surveillance system, no. They don't ever get flagged. You know why? Because they would have to say the CDC's bullshit. That's why they don't get flagged. I don't mind doing that again. I will proudly go with their bullshit if that's what they would really rather me do. I would rather do that. They're all bullshit, and shut them all down. But yeah, that's the fact. And the reason they want the surveillance and monitoring system is to turn us into China, a full-blown totalitarian surveillance state where only private industries, in the future world reality that's on their website for the future, it's only corporate CEO stakeholders have any rights at all. We don't have any rights. In fact, their motto for the Great Reset future is, you will own nothing and be happy. Really own nothing. That's who you are. You're not allowed to have anything. You become intellectual property. Literally. I'm not making this up. I wish I was. So yeah, so the enslavement program is to tie to the social credit system that they're trying to fully implement, and you can only read 100 different articles about that system, which is based off a China system, where they literally have a score that's not attached to whether you're paying bills like a credit score. It's attached to your behavior, what you do and say, how you act, everything, the websites you go on, the interest, and the score is going to be dictated it's always dictated where they want society to move to. That's what will be the algorithm for the score, to determine what freedoms you have. That's what they do in China. Oh, your score's too low. You can't access airplanes now. Oh, you're looked down to number 15 on the customer service waiting list. I mean, literally, this is what thing they do. Oh, you jaywalk, that'll drop you down 2 points. Now you're not allowed to access Starbucks anymore, or whatever businesses that decide that your score is too low for them to associate with. And your freedoms will be eliminated that way by dictating your behavior through the vaccine, which is the surveillance and monitoring system with public and private agencies in that system to determine your life based on the government elite establishment narrative that they want you to behave in a certain way. And if you're not behaving in that way, they'll drop your score and eliminate you from having access to freedom and going places and traveling and airplanes and businesses and resources based on how you're acting. So does that sound anything like the United States of America or any freedom at all at that point? If that's the way they're going to actually dictate whether you're allowed to have goods and services, is whether you're behaving correctly. Not to say you're breaking the law either. It's not about breaking the law. It's about, oh, well, you're acting a certain way that goes against the way that we want people to act now. You're cursing too much. We're going to drop your score. We've noticed that you've been using the F word, fuck, too much. So now we're dropping your score down, and now you're not able to be associated and get jobs now just because of your language profanities. Real thing. I mean, I wish I was making it up. That's the way that they're going to dictate society. They're going to literally. So would you want to live in a world where you can't act yourself, you can't be yourself? You're so conditioned to the way that they want you to be that you automatically become another person for them, a person that they want you to be. That's ruined. That hurts your inner person when you're not able to be you and express yourself and live the life you want to live based on what you want to do with your life. That's a blow to your inner being. It really is. It's a blow to your inner being. Your inner being is like, oh man, I just want to speak my mind. I want you to speak your mind and be yourself. And they're taking that from you, and that hurts your insides, man. That's like a blow to you, your inner person. So, I could go on for hours about this, but I don't know. I think that's enough for now. 32 minutes is more than a YouTube video attention span is already, I guess. But love you guys. Bye.